We're live. All right. Hey, Christina. Good afternoon.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Oregon Zoo Facebook Live. Today we're going to be hanging out with the bats. We wanted to thank you for joining us, and when we're done, there'll be some links to different activities that you could do, so check those out. And thank you for supporting us, and there should be a donate button on the page if you feel so inclined. We always love the support of your donations. So feel free to ask questions. I'll be happy to answer those, and we'll get started here.
So Christina, what kind of bat are we looking at right here?
So these are our Rodrigues fruit bats. They're the kind of darker, bigger, fuzzier ones in here. We do have two different species of bats in here. But these are the Rodrigues fruit bats. The other ones are the straw-colored fruit bats, and they're kind of hanging out on the other side right now. These Rodrigues bats, there's only about 25 of them, but they kind of like to take over. And then there's about 100 of these straw-colored fruit bats, and they're all hanging out in the corner over here right now. They're just kind of waking up and checking out the food that I just put up. So they'll slowly start to wander around and start checking out the food. But they're mostly in this corner right now.
So Daya is asking, can they see or are they blind?
Daya, they can see really well. They are not blind. These are fruit bats, so they use their eyes and their nose to help them find the fruit and smell it and eat it. So when they're in the wild, they eat fruit and they use their eyes to find the fruit. So they see really well.
So Addison is asking, how far can they fly?
They can fly really far. There's lots of different kinds of bats, and different ones fly different distances. You can see some actually flying around right now. So they can fly, several miles. They'll fly from different trees to other trees. Some will actually migrate to different tree roosts every year. So it really depends on the kind of bat. But these Rodrigues bats, they live on an island. So they would only fly across, their whole island that they live on, which is pretty small.
So Cam is asking, why do they hang upside down?
Everybody asks that. Thanks, Cam. They hang upside down because they're bats. They have these really cool feet that can hang on branches, and then their hands are modified into wings. So when they need to fly, all they have to do is just let go with their feet, and they can take off out of the tree. So unlike us, where we have to hold on, use our muscles to grip and hold on to a branch if we were hanging on it, or if we're on the monkey bars, we have to hold on. The bats are the opposite. They just have to let go and fly off. So that's why they can actually just sleep hanging upside down. They don't have to put any energy in because their muscles are backwards from ours. So it's kind of cool.
So Carolyn is asking, what are their predators?
Carolyn, they can have lots of different predators. So a lot of times it can be a snake or owls or hawks. Mostly though, their biggest threat is probably people. So like loss of habitat, deforestation. Sometimes people will eat them. for food in different parts of the world. Sometimes storms are actually really dangerous for them. They can wipe out a whole bunch of bats just with a bad storm. So it could be a lot of different things, but the ones I mentioned are the main ones.
So Michael was actually just looking at a baby over there. Can you tell us a little bit about that? So how do we have a baby in here? How many babies are in here right now?
Yeah, that's one of our Rodrigues bats. She's got one baby right now. We only have one baby at the moment. They can give birth at any time. They usually just give birth to one baby at a time. This little guy is about a month old, so you can see he's still nursing from mom. They are mammals, so they drink milk just like us. But you can see he's starting to use his legs. Oh, you can get a little look at his face. Oh, that's so cute. Mama's licking him. He's trying to get a little taste of what she was eating. So he's starting to use his legs to hold on. When he's first born, he holds on to her, but as he gets bigger, he'll start holding on up like she does. And then he'll slowly start tasting the food like you see from her. So this is a really great shot. You guys are really lucky to get to see this because usually they're sleeping in the corner.
Cheryl is asking if they ever have multiple babies.
Cheryl, that's really rare. Sometimes they'll have twins, but it's very rare. Generally, they only have one.
And Rex, age 6, is asking how often do they breed?
Rex, they can breed anytime. You can see them breeding here pretty often, but usually they just have a baby once a year.
So Ivy is asking how long do the babies stay with their mom?
Ivy, they stay about 4 or 5 months, and then they can eat on their own. But I've seen even after they start eating on their own, they'll keep coming back to mom for even a few more months after that. They just like the mom's comfort and to snuggle maybe. Even though they can't eat on their own, they will keep going back to mom for maybe another few months after that, so maybe 7 or 8 months.
So a while back we had a baby bat here that you had a kind of formed a special relationship. I'm gonna put up some footage of it here. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so that's baby Collie. She was rejected by her mom, unfortunately. Her mom didn't want to take care of her for whatever reason or couldn't. So we tried putting her back with the mom, but the mom just wouldn't accept her. So she was a great candidate to hand raise, so we ended up hand raising her. It was around the clock, feeding her, taking care of her, and watching her grow up. So that's her little nipple that we used to feed her milk when she was really little. So she's all grown up, and she's reintegrated back into the colony really well. Because we hand raised her, she is pretty friendly with us. More than the other bats. We are able to touch her and hand feed her, and she comes over to greet us. But she does spend most of the time with the bats, and I don't see her every day, but she does come over a couple times a week to say hi. So it's pretty cool that she was able to, I'm just remembering this video, be put back into the colony and is doing really well.
So Callie, is so adorable and clearly so friendly. For a lot of people who are nervous about bats or have some fear of them, she can be kind of a nice gateway bat, right?
Yes, she's a good gateway bat. She's definitely super cute and really friendly, and she loves to eat bananas. But yeah, bats can sometimes be seen as scary, and a lot of people are afraid of them or have a lot of misunderstandings and misinterpretations of bats, but they're actually really cool animals, and they're really important and help people and the environment in a lot of ways. They, eat a bunch of insects for us, which is great. Not this species, but like the ones around here in Oregon. They also are really important for pollinating plants and seed dispersal. A lot of forests are regenerated by bats dispersing seeds, and a lot of plants, even ones fruits that we eat and are because of bats. So if you like tequila, you probably don't if you're a kid, but if your parents like margaritas, thank a bat because they pollinate the agave plant. And if you like chocolate, they help, that plant too. So we wouldn't have chocolate or bananas or figs if it wasn't for bats.
So Declan is asking, these bats that we have here, what do they eat? We see them eating some fruits and vegetables here.
Yeah, so here, Declan at the zoo, we feed them fruits, but also some vegetables. They get greens, they get kale, broccoli, sometimes they get different lettuces, they get browse leaves that our gardeners cut for them off the trees. So they'll eat the bark off the browse and the leaves. Sometimes I'll give them flowers. But their main diet is this fruit, so they get apples, cantaloupe, honeydew, bananas. Sometimes they'll get bell peppers or blueberries or pomegranates or whatever's in season. They'll kind of vary it up, but yeah, they love their fruit.
Cindy is asking, how old is your oldest bat and what's their lifespan?
Cindy?
Cindy, yeah.
Cindy, they live about 20 years generally. These fruit bats, the bats around here in Oregon live a little less because they're smaller. They might live to be like 8 years old. But these guys live to be about 20, 25. And I'd say the oldest one in here is about 18 years old.
Jacqueline wants to know, so with these Rodrigues fruit bats, where are they from? Where is Rodrigues Island?
Jacqueline, Rodrigues Island is off the coast of Madagascar, so it's out in the Indian Ocean. So that's the only place you would find those Rodrigues bats, and they used to be really endangered. There was only about 70 bats left because a big cyclone, a big storm came and blew them all out to sea and blew away their trees. But a big conservation effort was started, and our zoo is part of it as well. And so over the last 20, 40 years, they've made a big comeback. And so now there's about 20,000 bats on the island, so they're doing really well.
Christina's asking, are their bites poisonous to humans? And on top of that, do people need to worry about bat bites? How can people be safe around bats?
Christina? Christina, that's my name. No, bat bites are not poisonous. They don't have any poison if they bite you. Some people worry about rabies, which bats can carry, but it's very rare for someone to get rabies from a bat. 99% of the cases in the world are from dogs, and also skunks and raccoons carry them. So a lot of animals carry rabies, and it's really rare to get it from a bat. You have a higher chance of getting struck by lightning, I've heard, than getting rabies from a bat. So that's good to know. But if you do see a bat on the ground or that looks sick, don't pick it up. Make sure to call, your local wildlife office or even the zoo. We can direct you who to call that can help you out with it. But don't try to handle wild bats on your own. Is what we recommend.
So Beckett and Lucas are asking, what types of bats are native to Oregon, and what's the big difference between these big fruit bats here and the bats that we have that are native?
Becca and Lucas. So yeah, these are fruit bats. So they mostly live in Africa and Rodrigues Island. They're tropical places, and they eat fruit. But the bats around here in Oregon, they eat insects. So they're a different kind of bat. They're much smaller. And they use echolocation, which you may have heard of, whereas these bats don't because the fruit doesn't move. So like in Oregon, we have little brown bat, and there's some myotis. There's a few different species in Oregon, which is pretty cool. And sometimes you can see them flying around in your backyard. I think there's I can't remember how many species are in Oregon, but maybe 15?
Michael probably knows.
Michael, do you remember how many species are in Oregon? 30. 30? 30 species. Yeah, that's pretty cool. There's 1,200 species total in the world, so there's a lot of different kind of bats out there. So
30 species, and they all eat insects for us.
Yeah, so they fly around and eat those pesky insects for us, which is great. And these guys here at the zoo, they're fruit eaters, so they do not eat any insects.
So Amy is asking, what can we do to support local bat populations and keep them healthy?
Amy, that's a great question. We always want to help our local wildlife and environment. So there's a lot of things you can do to help our local bats. One thing you can do is put up a bat box in your backyard. And if Michael wants to come show you ours, we do have a little bat box in here that we show people. you can put one up. We do have some around the zoo as well that volunteers put up. But if you go online, there's lots of different plans of how to make one, or you can go to like your local bird shop. They have some for sale, and that'll help encourage bats to come to your yard if you want to get rid of some insects, which is great. They don't always come. It's got to be like in just the right spot. But some other things to do are like try to avoid going to caves when bats are hibernating, and if you do, make sure to decontaminate your clothes and shoes so you're not, spreading anything or bothering bats while they're sleeping. And then kind of the biggest thing is just spreading the word about bats so people know that they're not scary and they're not something to be afraid of. They're actually really cool and really helpful. So just spreading good energy about bats and how great they are for us.
So Lauren is asking, for these Rodrigues bats, how long is their wingspan?
Lauren, so the Rodrigues bats have about a 3-foot wingspan, and then the straws are pretty close. They're like 2.5, but there is some fruit bats that have a 6-foot wingspan, so there's much bigger ones. But I think the biggest bat has a 6-foot wingspan. These are about half the size of that.
So we have a good question from Haley here that gets back to what you were saying about keeping their roosts healthy. She says, I visited ape caves and we had to be really careful about our shoes. Why is that? Does that affect the bats?
Yeah, Haley? Haley, yeah. I've been to the ape caves too. It's a really cool place to visit. Yeah, it's great that the Forest Service usually has little booths out there that tell people how important that is. So unfortunately, there's something called white nose syndrome, and we're trying to prevent the spread of that because that's been killing a lot of the North American bats. It started on the East Coast, and we're hoping that it doesn't spread into Oregon. I think it might have gone to Washington, but the last I heard, I don't think it's in Oregon. So we're trying to prevent that from becoming a problem here on the West Coast.
And we're going to take one last question here. Let me find it. It was a good one, I think. Oh, yeah. Okay, it's a kind of interesting one. It's from Anne, and she wants to know, what do their wings feel like?
And their wings feel like soft leather. I'm not sure how to describe it. They're pretty soft. They're thin but strong but soft. And their fur is soft as well. Gosh, I don't know how else I would describe it.
That's pretty good. I mean, they look like soft leather when you look at them.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Christina. This has been awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us and the bats.
Thanks for hanging out with me.
And we'll sign off here.
All right, thanks everyone for visiting and hanging out with the bats, and feel free to check out some of those activities that there's a link to at the bottom, and we hope to see you at the zoo, and thanks everyone.